Lightweight, step at the side when we come in. Feel it in your chest, the syllables get pumping. People on the street get panic and start running. Words on loose leaf sheet, complete coming. I jump on my mind, I summon the rhyme, I'm dumping. Feeling the blind, I promise to let the sun in. Sick of the dark ways, we march to the drumming. Jump when they tell us that they want to see jumping. Dad, I want to see some fist pumping. Lift something, take back what's yours. Say something that you know they might attack you for. Cause I'm sick of being treated like I have before. Like a stupid standing for what I'm standing for. Like this war's really just a different brand of war. Like
all right, welcome to Wide Awake Radio. I am Charlie McGrath in a state of panic because I had no microphone up until 5 seconds ago. I am in the midst of moving. I am in a vacant, what used to be a studio. I have 2 bar stools, a microphone, and a computer. And I just went to talk, and I had no microphone, but I figured the problem out post-haste. And now I'm on. I'm live. I think, Warren, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay,
hey, then I'm in business. I'm in business. It's the 17th of January, 17th of January, Monday. If you're listening, we have a bunch of people in the chat room right now. You can go to wakenews.com, click on Wide Awake Radio, and you can enter the chat and post questions for myself or Warren coming up in just a minute, who's patiently waiting for me to finish the intro. And we're going to talk about a broad range of subjects today. I talked to Warren a little bit before the show. And you know, we've come to the conclusion that you know that trouble is probably in both of our futures. So it's either go big or go home. And at this point in time, Warren, I think it's a given that we're not going to go home. We're going to I don't think it's in your nature or in my nature to keep quiet and just to shirk away, even though the final stages of the looting, as you and I talked about before the show, the stages that include the ultimate smoke and mirrors, the ultimate distractions being played, and we see that now in the media, with this terrible tragedy in Arizona turning into an absolute freak show circus, absolutely, in my opinion, destroying the memory of the people that were truly affected by this. It's turned into nothing more than a political football. And in fact, I'm embarrassed to even talk about it because I feel like I'm entering into the same fray. However, you can't cover the mainstream media. You can't cover the government. You can't talk about any of these subjects without dipping your toe into whatever propaganda quagmire they want to drag us through. I find that the real news that isn't being reported, that you can decipher if you look for it, and at sites like wideawakenews.com or Blacklisted News, is completely null and void of any of this propaganda. The real agenda in D.C., the real agenda in Wall Street, the real agenda by the true power elite that run this country has nothing to do with preserving the rights or preserving the memory of these people that were hurt out in Arizona, or preserving the liberty of any person, any citizen in this country. I do believe, in fact, they truly think that we as a herd will follow right along to our own demise. And I'm reading a story right before the radio broadcast about an interview Jamie Dimon gave. I say his name with disdain because I have utter disdain for him and his corporation, J.P. Morgan Chase. He was out on Friday talking about this new this Dodd-Frank financial reform law is going to really hurt the small guy, because the banking institutions that used to make 44 cents per transaction, because of the Dodd-Frank, this tough piece of legislation, this tough piece of garbage, handwritten, lobbyist-written legislation, is going to cause, instead of 44-cent profit per transaction, these poor banks are only going to have 12-cent transaction. And because of his jargon, this motivated the interests that invested in his company, driving the stock of the company up, resting today at $44.91 a share. And it's beyond infuriating. Now, I know these words coming out of my mouth could end up getting me in trouble because I'm talking out against one of the power elite. But here's a guy who ran a corporation into oblivion, Warren Pollock. This company should not even be in existence right now. it has received billions and billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars in emergency lending and bailout and guarantees, and he's complaining because a handwritten, lobbyist-written piece of legislation is going to affect his transaction fee per card, and he's blatantly telling the Wall Street Journal, or CNBC in this case, blatantly telling them, well, it's no big deal, we'll pass it along to the poorest among us, and maybe about 5% of the users won't be able to afford having the card anymore. This is absolute, in my opinion, the most disgusting hubris that I've ever seen. He can sit there in a $50,000 suit with a $100,000 watch on his wrist. His company is under investigation for manipulating silver, among other things. They've received untold amount of money. We'll never know unless all these guys are perp walked, put into prison, charged, convicted, put into prison, and then we have some real accounting measures come into play, and we look at these books that have been cooked for decades, and then we'll find out how much they truly stole from the American people. But he's complaining about a handwritten piece of legislation called the Dodd-Frank Financial Reform Act, costing his company a little bit, taking their profits down from 44 cents a transaction to 12 cents a transaction. It absolutely makes me sick, Warren. And when you and I talked before the show, we're speaking to this phase of the collapse, and I want you to illustrate what you were saying to me, how this is the final looting before the dirt nap scenario.
Oh, absolutely. It's the final looting. And in place of looting, when the system breaks down, what we're going to have is the police state trying to retain control over what is left of our government. And right now we have politicians who are just making decisions based on their own interest. And you could pull any of them out of the hat to see this. I mean, who did you mention? Darrell Issa? Did you mention that guy a second ago? Well, I thought you mentioned Darrell Issa because he's a guy worth personally between $156 million and $451 million, and he's sitting there in the government sending letters out to his constituents, and his constituents are among 150 trade organizations and think tanks, which include the oil industry, drug manufacturers, trade groups, and companies, and he's going to tell them which Obama administration regulations are to target. So he's the guy who's not working for you. He's a guy that is going to steal from the small guy, and he's going to give to the big guy. And he is just systemic. It could be not just Darrell Issa. It could be John Kerry. It could be Lamar Alexander, it could be Hillary Clinton, it could be Gary Miller, it could be Nancy Pelosi or Frank Lundenberg or Jay Rockefeller or Herb Kohl or Mark Warner. It could be any of these people. Mm-hmm. So we have these are people that voted for the Patriot Act and then reauthorized it. They want the Homeland Security Department to be there. These people vote against everything to end discrimination, to anything that is going to help the American people. These people work for 150 lobby groups each, is who they work for. So we have the looting going on with a revolving door where these people are in industry, they buy their way into Congress, they get even sweeter deals. Many of these people, make a fortune because they are engaged in the very regulations which they create. I'm not saying Issa is one; he's just one of many. But we have no place. I mean, this is the everyman in Congress, worth $451 million. The small guy is only worth $50 million. And what they're going to do is they're going to steal from the poor and give to the rich. And you're going to see this. I mean, I took a friend's child to the motor vehicles. Last year, the motor vehicle fee was $35. This year, a learner's permit is $99. Guess what? Your taxes in Chicago, in Illinois, we'll just raise them 66% in a midnight session. Who do you think that these people are working for? Oh, red light cameras in my county. Oh, that's a great idea to raise money. Well, guess who it's coming from? It's coming from the poor people. The rich people are getting richer, and the poor people are getting poorer, and that's what looting is about. And I don't mind if you check out my website, wepollock.com, or YouTube on Pollock, I found this old propaganda film, which is in the public domain, and it warns against despotism. And we have an oligarchical, fascist despotism. We don't have a specific despot like a Hitler. We have a committee of despots in our country, and it talks about how you can have all these high-sounding language and pledges of allegiance, which wasn't under God, by the way, but now it is. But you have the Pledge of Allegiance, you have the red, white, blue, star-spangled banner. We fought wars for freedom. We defeated Germany, and all this jingoism doesn't have anything to do with a form of government which you have. And we have a fascist, despotic government right now looking for people to go off the handle so that they can set up this police state so that when things break down, and it's a confirmation that things are breaking down. The fact that they need this police state, not looking at terrorists, but looking at people internally, the fact that they have this is a confirmation of everything Charlie and I have been saying for the last year and a half. It's an absolute confirmation of failure. It doesn't create a single job that is of worth anything or will have continuity. What it does is it keeps the masses under control. On Soma, watching Lady Gaga, playing Nintendo, going to jet games, sponsoring Pepsi and Coke, and coveting their brands. And next year or the year after, no one's going to be able to afford food. Except the guy that's earning $451 million who you elected to Congress.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Warren, you get me fired up because I mean I understand your references. I understand the Soma reference. You're talking a Brave New World where the citizens, if they're down, they take a pill and it numbs you out so you don't worry about important things like your liberty, like your sovereignty, like the direction your country's heading. And you don't even see the impact zone that you're free-falling from 35,000 feet into. We're a nation dazed and confused. And incidents like Pickett, the Arizona massacre is the latest. But it certainly isn't the only. I mean, since you and I have been making videos or been coming on YouTube, and you and I have just even been talking in general, we've had countless incidents happen that have allowed the apparatus of the police state to justify itself. And, the Arizona shooting, previously, a year earlier, the underwear bomber, the Times Square failed bomber, the failed bomber in Portland. The list goes on and on. I should have written them down. It would make for a good video to try to name off all these so-called events that happen that justify and warrant the unbelievable expenditure in the name of security, in the name of safety, that is sucking the life out of our country. Irony is going to be this, Warren. The irony is going to be a backward country like Afghanistan that is basically, a large part of their population has no running water. A large part of their population has never seen a television, has no electricity. And countries like this, by our own hubris, is going to destroy the United States of America. And the people in position of power, the people you're speaking to now, making unbelievable amounts of money. And the example that came to my mind is former Homeland Security Secretary, now representing RapidScan, the multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that you can't go through a major airport, 70 of them now, have these million-dollar machines sitting there that you can go in and have your naked picture taken of so they can make sure you don't have any underwear explosives. And it's insane. This guy's getting rich beyond belief. Our country is rapidly becoming a banana republic at best. A banana republic, and the people who are bringing us here have the masses convinced that it's for our own good, and they're just grifting trillions and trillions of dollars out of this economy, benefiting only themselves and the financiers who put them into power. And we are focused on what? We're focused on Glenn Beck, Sarah Palin, Rush Limbaugh, and these guys are, the cause for all of the
flag wavers. They're flag wavers. They wave the flag and they harken back to a day that's long past, and they ignore the reality. I mean, these are the clowns that are coming out, and they ignore the reality. And the reality is, if we had a flood, like they're having floods in Australia now, and our flood was Hurricane Katrina, and we fell and we couldn't get up. And the Australians are picking themselves up by the bootstraps, and they're going to survive and rebuild. In America, what gets destroyed stays destroyed and becomes a shell of its former self. This guy Issa was against funding for World Trade Center reconstruction and for aid for all the firefighters and the small people injured. Meanwhile, he concentrates wealth himself in the hundreds of billions of dollars. The rich become richer, the poor become poorer, and now in the World Trade Center area, it's a police state. I try to take a picture there, and I'm roughed up by the New York City policeman with guns blazing. Like, what is a 50-year-old guy going to go with? What am I going to do? Toss up my bubble gum at the World Trade Center tower? It's going to fall down. Freedom Tower, it's going to fall down. What am I going to do to Freedom Tower? I had also a guy harassed by the SEC who went berserk, started sending off emails to them. Next thing you know, they arrest him the minute he lands on the shore of the United States. I wouldn't condone what he's doing. I wouldn't send nasty emails out to these people. I wouldn't threaten these people. But I've seen the SEC destroy legitimate business people. Where they have such unlimited power, they go into your business. So what did you do? I know a guy who had to defend himself for 5 years in front of the SEC for doing absolutely nothing wrong. He was CEO and chairman of his own board of a company he built, and it was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they at the end of the day, they said, "Oh, you did nothing wrong, and by the way, your company's only worth $2 million now." So that's the age of we're living in. Forget the rumors.
Well, it is.
When the facts come out.
I agree. I wanted to agree with you because one of the pillars that has led to this shaky foundation that we're on right now, Warren. We have an absolute corporatocracy that has usurped any representative form of government that we had left. I am 100% convinced of that there is no interest of the average citizen on the mind of any representative in a position of power in Washington, D.C. I think that there are people who go to D.C. Who have romantic notions of changing the system, but I think it corrupts absolutely, and our seats of power are completely and utterly corrupt. The fact that Christopher Dodd and Barney Frank can still have their name on a major piece of financial legislation is 100% testimony to that fact. These guys who brought us here are now celebrated as renewing our financial industry. But the first pillar was taking over by the corporatocracy, owning our government. Now we have it to where you can't do anything. And it's unbelievable. When my sister and I started Wide Awake News, just the idea of getting an LLC involved and the red tape to do this it's unimaginable. You have to go through the grind, and the idea is to weed out any true competition to the corporate-owned government, the corporate-owned position of power. So the next step in this foundation is getting neighbor against neighbor. And Warren, I think in the dirt nap scenario that you painted at times, this is the final leg to get us there.
Yeah, this is the looting. This is the looting before everything falls apart, Charlie. It's absolutely
and how much east? Go ahead.
I mean, they could delay it. They could delay it with some infrastructure build-out, an alternate energy build-out. They could build down their homeland security. They could reduce their wars. They could force China to adjust its currency, but they're too chicken to do that. That was my major prediction a year ago, is that between now and 2011, they would go and revalue the yuan. And now it hasn't even budged a bit because the Chinese are just playing with us like we are the fools that we are. And they're willing to play into a government which works for itself but doesn't work for the greater good. So we're talking about the government now in these terms, and I think these terms are in totally professional. We are not making threats to anyone. We are pointing out our opinion and our fact. And my question is, how long will they allow this to go on? I mean, I wanted to open up a 403B, a nonprofit, to start to spread the word and to raise the kind of money that you need to spread the word. I spoke to several lawyers. They said, forget about it. Not only will it cost you tens of thousands of dollars, but when you fail to file Form 550, guess what? They'll put you in jail.
Yeah. I mean, you can be a murderer in this country and get less jail time than if you mess with the status quo, or if your message is upsetting the apple cart. I mean, there's ample examples.
We're upsetting the apple cart. We're upsetting the apple cart, and a small minority of people. I'm thankful that you're listening to us. But you said it, Charlie. Either we get large or we get lost, because 5,000 or 10,000 people just frankly isn't enough to confront the lies. And that's what it's going to take. And to hell with what happens financially. I mean, we need to rebuild this country from the ground up. We need to realize that our own history, and we need to realize that if we want a future, we need to adjust some of the things that we have done. And our politicians always take the easy path. They don't want to stand up to China. They don't want to stand up for our interests. It's easier to loot. And that's what they do. So we're saying this right now in a rational way.
I agree, Warren, and we're gonna hold that thought, Warren. We're going to take this, our one and only break for the show. If you want to call in and pose questions to myself or Warren, 877-342-6673. We'll do calls in the second half. We have 120-plus people in the chat room, so if you're listening and you'd like to join the chat, you can head over there. We'll be right back with Warren Pollock, Wide Awake News. I should say over where. Go to wideawakenews.com, click on Wide Awake Radio, and you'll be in the chat room. We'll be right back on Wide Awake Radio with Warren Pollock right after this. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake Radio. I'm trying to monitor the chat. We have 120-plus people in there, so if you're listening and you'd like to join some good folks in the chat room, and maybe a few that aren't so good, but most of them are really good, you can go to wideawakenews.com and click on Wide Awake Radio and join in. And just because we have so many people in there tonight, and I want to make this announcement once in a while. Obviously, when I'm talking to a guest like Warren, I don't have time to monitor every question that could possibly come in. So if you have a question and you want to get it asked, 877-342-6673, you can call in. We have no more commercials for the rest of the show, so we have plenty of time to take your call. Also, if you go into the chat room and you're dumping a site, I mean, it's okay to put a link in there if you have something you want to share. But if you come in there dropping advertisements, things like that, the room is monitored. I have no control over it. I can't kick anybody out, but there's a couple monitors that can, and they do. So if you get bounced, then I'm sorry. I have no power over that. I've delegated that authority to others who can monitor the room at all times. So, all right, Warren, I want you brought up China before the end of the first half there. And talking about, a year ago, you're saying if America wants to get back on track, that we take some of this stimulus money, this money that we borrowed from countries around the world, or just printed and bought our own debt, and we could build out our infrastructure. And, first of all, to that point, I could not agree with you more. And I don't care where you live. I travel all over the West. I'm in Denver. I'm out in Portland. I see the infrastructure. It's dilapidated. It's falling apart. Yes, there's a lot of people out there right now repaving roads and leaning against the shovel because they have stimulus money to spend. But the idea that we're generating the infrastructure for going forward for the next century or even the next half a century, it's just not happening. We're not building out the way other countries like China is. It's ironic you brought them up because one of the notes I had written was Chinese President Hu Jintao calling for the yuan to replace the old system of the dollar. And this is incredible. I mean, your prediction a year ago, I could see that on the horizon where we were going to have to demand that they let their currency appreciate so we could have some kind of trade relationship that was beneficial to both of us. And we get just exactly the opposite of it. We get them coming and, they wield so much power over us because of the fact that they hold so much of our debt that their president, Hu Jintao, is coming to the States here this week, and he's announcing himself before he comes by saying, yeah, the dollar's an old broken system, and the yuan should be the world reserve currency.
Yeah, but we're not going to let the yuan adjust. It's 60% overvalued. So he's saying it out of one side of his face, and he's telling us that he's lying to us. What can I say? That's what he's doing. He's lying to us. Oh, the yuan should be the reserve currency, but we're not going to let it appreciate and become the world currency. So I guess we'll keep all our manufacturing, and you guys can just go self-destruct. That's what he's saying to us. Oh, and by the way, right. You need me to buy your treasuries? Well, maybe if you kiss my feet, I'll buy your treasuries.
Well, these Saturday Night Live clips where they have the interpreter, in proxy, they have the Chinese premier standing there, an interpreter basically chastising America for their actions. I mean, that's what's happening. It's a comedy imitating reality, but they're not going to be dictated to by us. And it's amazing that the watchdogs of the government, the media, absolutely will not show what this really means for the average American, for the purchasing power of our dollar, for the strength of the American economy. They're not going to show this. They'll put a pretty picture on it when he comes over here, and they're in the Oval Office, and they take some pictures, and they'll say that the U.S.-Chinese relationship has never been stronger or more beneficial. And meanwhile, your future is being sold down the river, and the people who could affect it, the change right now that we need, a tougher policy with China in order to keep some of our jobs here and God forbid, gain some jobs back. They're just going to sit back and just put a smile on their face and say everything's okay as we all go off the cliff together.
Yeah, it's $450 million. The guy is worth $450 million that you elected to Congress. What does he care if you become poor? He still has enough money to withstand anything, and I'm sure he has lots of Chinese friends who are happy to give him good Chinese investments to invest in. I'm sure he gets the best of every deal, and all you do is get to eat salt. And very soon, in the near future, you will go into the supermarket and you will not be able to afford food. And that's what this comes down to. And as far as politics are concerned, why is it up to the clowns to step in and try to tell things the way they are? Why? We can have a discussion like we're trying to have now, which is totally civil. And in a few days or a week or a year, someone will say, oh, you remember that guy that shot the senator? Well, this guy is talking things we don't like, and he's getting some traction. And, 4,000 people view him. We won't mind if we wipe him off the face of the earth. And that's what this is coming down to.
You could not have nailed it.
You and me, Charlie. That's you. Huh?
Yeah, I know. It's you too, Warren. And truthfully, it's anybody who, we're saying that tongue in cheek, although I have no doubt that your name's across somebody's desk and my name's across somebody's desk, but it's anybody in this community. It's a beatdown is what it is. You will do what you're told, plain and simple. If you don't, we have a place for you. If you don't, we have a label for you. And as soon as you're, that's hung around your neck, that's it. You're done. And it's.
I mean, we use our own names, Charlie. You know what my name is, and I know what your name is. And we are in the open, and we're forthright, and we have integrity, and we are against everything that the system stands for. It stands for lack of integrity. It stands for criminality. It stands for spinning issues out of control. And I've seen how courts work. They'll take one word from what you said, and they'll put it out of context. He said the Congress are a bunch of criminals. What should we do with them? We should get rid of them and throw them all out. We should give them a trial and hang them. You can't say that. You said hang the politician.
Yeah. So you're.
So this is cover up. This is all cover up for the collapse It is a confirmation that the collapse is happening. It's going to be collapse that's going to hit people that have less than $7 million right in the frickin' gut. If you don't have $7 million, you're going to have a hard time getting through this thing.
Well, guess what? I'm going to have a hard time getting through it, Warren.
I'm going to have a hard time getting through it, Charlie.
I think I'm going to have a harder time, Warren.
I'm going to have a hard time, too. And that's what they're trying to do is bankrupt you. They're going to bankrupt you. The less money you have, the quicker they're going to bankrupt you. That's just the bottom line. Oh, gee, no one has a job. Oh, gee, let's raise taxes 66%. Let's put in red traffic lights. Let's tax cigarettes. Oh, by the way, we need a sales tax on food. Oh, gee, you want to say something? Sit down and shut up. Sit down and shut up, Charlie.
But here's the thing.
I'm going to bitch slap you.
Warren. Here's the thing. They can bankrupt me, Warren. It won't take them a lot to do it. But you do get to a point where you just don't care. Now, even that can be taken out of context. Oh, he's talking about, he's going to do the old Salente, once he loses everything, he's going to lose it thing. And maybe that will happen. But, I've made the decision that I don't care. I don't care who knocks at my door. I don't care what shows up in the mail. This is what I'm going to do until somebody, physically removes me from the microphone or physically removes me from YouTube or from my camera, and I can't do it anymore. Only because I think that it will give me a feeling of I tried to do something. I tried to wake somebody up to what's going on. But I really don't think that we're going to have much longer to wait, Warren, and I want your opinion on this. Kind of following on the theme of last week's show, you're feeling this acceleration to complete despotism, and you said that last week. I asked you. You said yes, you could feel it happening quicker. I want you to play that out a little because we ran out of time with a couple calls we had. I absolutely, when I see the reality of the economy in this country, when I see the distracting smoke and mirrors before the holiday season, and we look at real reality now, we can look at the U.S. national debt clock and see the condition of our economy. We can look at last week, 700,000 people filing for first-time claims. We can look at the idea that all the stimulus money's run out, and 2011, barring some kind of miracle, is going to the reality of the non-recovery is going to be everywhere. But what are we talking about? We're talking about we need to clamp down on free speech. We're talking about we need to spend billions and trillions or more in wars around the world, and we need to beef up the infrastructure, the security infrastructure of the U.S. While the country is literally bleeding to death.
The security infrastructure of the country is a healthy economy where people have jobs. It's a healthy economy where people don't have to pay some stupid corporation to get an education. You can go on YouTube right now, on Apple iTunes right now and take Yale courses for free instead of paying the University of Phoenix. Did you know that? That's what a good country is. It's a country that has opportunities. Security isn't some guard in the TSA putting his finger up your ass, Charlie.
I agree. I agree with you, Warren, and I don't want him to do that.
Are you sure?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm positive. You crack me up sometimes.
Are you positive?
Yeah, I'm positive. I want to make this clear right now. Charlie McGrath, do not want the TSA anal probe. I'm out. I don't want that.
Are you sure?
Okay, we're
so anyway, look, yeah. That's what's criminal. What's criminal is that these guys, game theory and economics. If you want to get an A, then someone gets a C. And everyone raises their hands. They want to get an A. And the other guy gets a C. The right answer for a politician is he gets a B and you get a B. The politicians now all want to get A's. They all are multimillionaires. Once they're in power, they're multimillionaires. They have everything catered to. They have their own health plan. They can vote you whatever direct health plan or lack of health plan or health rationing, or they can make you buy insurance, and they can put you up against the wall. They can search you in TSA. It's a two-class society, and this standing up by the government against terror, domestic terror, at this point, is just a confirmation of the breakdown. And when it breaks down, not only if you don't have enough money will you not survive, but there may not be very much of a country left when you're done. take a look at what's going on in Haiti right now, and that's what we could become very quickly.
Oh, I agree. I agree, and especially as I go to areas, major population centers. If you live in New York City, Warren, obviously the degradation that happens, it's like seeing somebody once a month. If they lose 15 pounds in a month, you're going to notice, and maybe their wife or husband wouldn't because they're with them every day. I go down to Denver quite often, but it's a month span at a time before I'm down there, and I just see the slow words are leaving me tonight. I see the slow collapse down there in retail space, in infrastructure. I mean, every time I go down there, it's a little bit worse. They're spending ridiculous amounts of money on digging holes and filling them in, while the existing infrastructure is rotten and falling apart. So, yeah, I do think that we will be in a situation where, when it's all said and done, there'll be people crying in the wilderness, people like you crying in the wilderness saying, this is coming, and you're going to be labeled a whatever, the nastiest comments you get on your channel as a lunatic, tinfoil hat wearer.
Or a guy that's anti-American. Well, guess what? You're anti-Constitution. Well, guess what? The Constitution's dead. It's not my fault it's dead. Try defending yourself in a court with a Constitution. They'll laugh at you.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Try telling a New York City policeman that he's breaking the civil law and the criminal law by stopping you from taking a photograph in a public place. Try telling him that and see where it lands you. Section 42, 1983, USC. He is violating my civil rights by doing what he was doing. Is he accountable for that? If I look sideways, I'm accountable for it. Who's he working for? In the Emerald City of Manhattan, where the haves get their snowplowed and the have-nots get screwed. What kind of country is this? You want to see what despotism is? Corporate, oligarchical, lobby group, Republican, Democrat, unconstitutional despotism. We live there now. And if this isn't bad enough, when it breaks, it's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable in this country.
Well, I've said for some time, and there's two subjects I want to get into before we run out of time. We have about 10 minutes left. But I've been saying sometime we're going to see 2011 is going to be the year of austerity. It's going to be the year of blame thy neighbor. And wow, did they kick it off in mega fashion? This boiling point, this incident happens because that's just the way it is in a country of 300 million people. There's a lunatic out there, and he's going to do something. We act like this is a big surprise. Lunatics are everywhere. They were just waiting for the next one so they could go after the segment of the population that is upset, and then go after the people who they want to label as causing this agenda or causing this fear and this feeling of dread from the government. So this incident happens. They label immediately, instantaneously. They label the internet community as being the creator of this lunatic, and I think that this is.
Oh, and then we'll regulate the internet. Oh, sure, you created them. Well, guess what? Watch, control. Do you see that propaganda piece by the Department of Homeland Security?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who has a homeland security? Who has a homeland? Fucking Nazi Germany has a homeland.
Yeah.
Who has a homeland?
Fatherland.
What kind of thing is that?
The fatherland. I mean, that is. I mean, it's Orwellian, but it's also happened in history. The Stasi. It's happened. I mean, you have a police state. And you're right, that is despotism. I recommend everybody watch that video you posted. It was in 1940s, maybe late 1940s, early 50s propaganda piece. But it was spot on. I mean, it showed the scale of where information, where wealth, where property ownership, when it shows the sliding scale from a free republic all the way to a complete despotism, and on every metric in that propaganda piece, it describes 2011 United States of America.
Absolutely,
firmly.
They make the point. They make the point in the beginning of the video that just because you call yourself a democracy and you have elections doesn't mean that you have a democratic system, which you do not have here. You don't even have a republic. You have an oligarchy. You have a guy earning $450 million, who's worth $450 million representing you. Does he seem like the everyman to you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not that I begrudge wealth. I don't. But I do begrudge a system where the wealthy inflict their sin, their failure onto the everyman, so they can maintain their wealth status, and then rig the system so no one else can compete with them. I mean, and
I tried to become magistrate, Charlie. I tried to become a lowly judge in a little town, a magistrate, to do parking tickets, speeding tickets, and drunk driving. I had to go in front of the Republican committee and be interviewed by them. And because I didn't like people drunk driving, what do you mean drunk driving? I killed someone. The guy said to me in the committee, he said, I killed someone when I was drunk driving. I don't want to go to jail for that. Why should I elect you?
Yeah, no kidding. Warren, I'm having technical issues on my end. I'm in the middle of a gigantic windstorm up here in Montana, so I keep jumping in and out. And I appreciate you continuing to talk when you don't hear me say anything, because it's not leaving an awkward silence out there. We do have a caller. Would you like to take one call before we sign off? Okay, Al from Wisconsin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.
I want to ask both of you guys, what do you guys think about these two countries that have just failed at governments?
Well,
Warren?
I think the failed government. Well, you look. This is a typical problem in Haiti. They have Baby Doc Duvalier. I always said we had Baby Doc Bush and Papa Doc Bush in French to the cab drivers when I was living in Quebec. But we have a guy who's a ruthless guy. They've had all these strongman leaders. They had Aristide. They had Baby Doc, and then Papa Doc, and then Baby Doc. Now Baby Doc is now inserting himself into Haitian politics. There's a documentary which was on Frontline, which talks about Haiti, and there's a police officer there says the government is so corrupt that we cannot do anything without a revolution. The next day, Baby Doc shows up into Haiti, and he wants to position himself as a strongman. Their House of Representatives and Parliament, or whatever it is in Haiti, is the same as ours, the same exact as ours. It's that corrupt. It's at that level of corruption or worse. The only difference is that country has a breakdown and we do not. So it will take, in that country, a strongman to put people up against the wall in order to retain order. Right now, they have all of these international aid organizations called NGOs, non-governmental organizations, who each has a profit center going down to Haiti, and they are making these people subsistence people to this aid. They're not giving people the ability to fish and to build this country into a functional country. It has 10 million people. And how can you have elections and a democracy in a country with 10 million people? They don't have running water. They have slavery. They have, a corrupt government. They don't have law and order. They don't have police. They don't have jail.
Right.
The people ran off and escaped from the jail. They had 8,000 prisoners escaped from the jail. So that country is what a country looks like in failure. And you can wave all of these international standards about human rights around. It's not going to get the job done of reform in that country. It's going to take a strong force to fix the situation. In Venezuela,
what do you think about
what do you
think of what's happening about in Tunisia and in Lebanon?
Well, in Tunisia, in Lebanon, the collapse of that country is quite interesting. We'll see how Israel responds to it, whether they have to see if that country could be stable or not. That country was once the jewel of that area, Lebanon. And right now we have what I would call a generational crisis occurring in Lebanon. The people are young, and they are going to look for change, and you're going to see conflict there. In Tunisia, you had the breakdown of that country. Most of the people are under 30, and you had a generational awakening, and you have instability there. But it's nothing like Haiti. Nothing like Haiti. Haiti is the model to follow. All this other stuff.
What were your comments on Lebanon and Tunisia?
Well, I'm I'm very concerned is that I'm hearing that it's, well, the term I heard was this is going to be a trend. We're going to see a lot more of these governments that are going to fail. And I kind of expected that. I was kind of looking at the ones that wasn't going to fail as well, like I think that China and maybe Iran and Chavez, I can't remember the name of his country, were the ones that probably were going to escape this. But I think that this is going to be something that is very, very widespread, and it's going to happen in the United States as well. And my other thing was I was wondering, where are all of these politicians heading? I have a feeling they're headed here to the U.S.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, here, this is the thing you have to look at. In some of this instability in Tunisia is also about rising food prices. You could see that equally occur in Mexico, and you could even see that occur here.
Everything that's happened in these two countries, and we can't forget about Uzbekistan a year ago that failed, and it's all for the same exact reasons.
Right. Well, we're next. So you could.
I agree with that, Warren and Al. I agree with that. That a lot of. I mean, you can get into regional conflicts that that could be religious based or on ethnic based conflicts, but in reality, all these countries, behind every conflict, behind every insurrection, it seems to be the same players. The International Monetary Fund is bailing them out and straddling their citizens with debt. Their economies are imploding. The liberty that they did have is being taken from them, and all their future prosperity is being taken from them. So I agree, Al, that I think we're going to see more and more failures around the world. It will be blamed on many things.
Here,
I think it.
Charlie. Charlie. Here.
Yes.
Forget, last time I exchanged emails with Dmitry Orlov, who wrote the book on the Russian collapse. He wrote back something pretty prophetic. He said, what's happening in the rest of the world will not matter to you, because what happens in the rest of the world is going to happen here. It's going to happen here. You are going to find that people are not going to have food. They're not going to have jobs. They're not going to have prospects. Right. With this difference. In this country, there is no generational awakening. You have people who are highly propagandized, and you also have a police state, and that's the difference.
Yeah, I agree. Al, I want to give you. Al, give me 10 seconds real quick because it's gonna cut us off here. So, did you have anything else you wanted to add, real quick?
No, I was just it's my second time calling in, and I really appreciate your show, and I really admire what it is you're doing, and that was kind of my thing, and I watch your show and I chat and everything. So
all right, man,
I'll be here. So
hey, thanks for the call. Keep calling in. Keep showing up in the chat. Warren Pollock, thank you very much for your Monday appearance. I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate what you do as well. Everybody stay tuned because Jeff Rintz is coming up next. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow at the same time.
He would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He handwrote a quote inside, when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news that were played. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry, like what did he say?